Hello and welcome back to the channel. Everybody's got a bucket list. I know I've got a couple of bucket lists. In particular, I've got a photography location bucket list that keeps changing. But what I'm going to do in this video is share with you what's at the top of my list and most importantly, why it's there. My name is Jerry Kita and I live in North Carolina. A few years ago, as I was approaching retirement, I purchased a camera with the idea of becoming a photographer. Since then, photography has taken me to some wonderful places all over the world and I've made many new friends. I've come a long way, but I know I'm still trying to figure this all out. I'm having a lot of fun and this is my journey. So let me be clear up front. When I talk about my bucket list for photography locations, I'm usually really referring to workshops that I attend. If you know anything about me, you know that I enjoy signing up for workshops in various parts of the world, and that's how I learn a lot about my photography. So with that, how do things end up on my bucket list? And there's usually a number of reasons that I'll choose a particular location. Number one, and probably most importantly, is it's usually an iconic location of some kind. And I've had an opportunity in the past to visit some really great places. Places that were previously on my bucket list and have been now checked off. So the examples I have are Iceland, which I've visited twice. I've been to the Dolomites in Italy, which was an incredible experience. I've been to the Faroe Islands. I've been to Colorado during the fall to see the colors. Those were all places that were previously on my bucket list, and as I said, they've been checked off. So what I'm also looking for, in addition to just the iconic nature of the landscape, but what else might I possibly experience or learn? So one of the things I look for is this a tour operator whose work I'm familiar with, or is this a tour operator photographer whose work I've admired and I love the opportunity to work with them. So I kind of look at that. The other thing I'll ask myself is there something else to the experience that I might enjoy? Like, for instance, will we get close to a local culture and maybe, find a small village or find something where you get to meet the people and make them part of the photographic experience. So those are all things that kind of come into play when I'm thinking about, what locations are on my bucket list. So in no particular order, here's my top 5. I would love to go to the US Southwest for astrophotography. And the reasons for that are as follows. Some of my favorite images that I see on the internet often involve nighttime shots of the Milky Way, and a lot of them are absolutely spectacular. And I also have to admit, I'm just not very good at it. I live in a part of the country that has a lot of light pollution, a lot of cloudy nights, so I really don't get the opportunity to practice astrophotography. And I would love to do it in the presence of folks that really understand it and they would give me some great tips and I would learn a lot. I also happen to know some of the photographers and tour operators who provide these or make available these tours in the US Southwest. I've got a lot of respect for them. Some of them I've even worked with in the past, and I would just love to do it again. Another location on my bucket list is Patagonia in South America. Why? Well, come on, it's Patagonia. It is one of the most spectacular landscapes in the world. And if you've seen images of it, you would know exactly what I mean. And it's a place I would absolutely love to go. The other attraction for me is that it's in South America, and I've really not done any travel in South America. I went there once on business many years ago, and really just was there on business, didn't get a chance to see any of the continent. And I think this would be an opportunity, maybe my only opportunity to see it in this way. The other thing that I'm also aware of is that there's also a cultural experience here that I would very much enjoy. And again, as in the previous case with astrophotography in the US Southwest, I know that there are tour operators whom I'm very familiar with who run excursions and workshops into the area, and I know it would be a spectacular experience. Next on the list is the Isle of Skye in Scotland, and we will be able to put a check mark beside this one very soon as we have booked a workshop in the Isle of Skye in May of 2026. And the reason for it is there are just some epic landscapes there. And my wife and I, for the longest time, have wanted to go to Scotland, and this just seemed to be a great opportunity. We learned of this workshop and, signed up for it almost immediately. And we will, in fact, I know we will turn this into a 3-week vacation. It's a 4-day workshop, but we're going to be in Scotland for about 3 weeks, and I know we're going to have a fantastic time. We also know personally the tour operator who's running it. We've met him once a couple of years ago and have been in frequent correspondence with him. And it's something that we're really, really looking for. Also, I would add, as an aside, my wife is a big fan of Outlander, and for some reason, she thinks she's going to run into Jamie Fraser while she's there. Whatever. I will also include on my list Greenland, and I need to kind of explain what I mean by that. Over the last, 4 or 5 years, there has been a photography workshop that has emerged in Greenland that's referred to as the Red Sails of Greenland. And what it refers to is the tour operators will hire a couple of large sailboats with red sails, as you would expect. And what happens during that workshop is the sailing ships, we will travel amongst the icebergs. And some of the photography that I've seen from it is spectacular. And this happens in the summer. The sailing ships will go out around midnight when the sun is at its lowest. At that time of year, the sun never sets. But at that time of day in the summer in Greenland, you get the most spectacular light. And when I first heard about this workshop a couple of years ago, my first reaction was, I don't know, I don't think that's for me. But the more I've seen images come out of those workshops, and I know about 3 people who have been on those workshops and they absolutely rave about it, I've come around to thinking that, I need to put that on my list. I have no idea when I'm going to go, but let me assure you, it is on the list. And lastly, I would include Lofoten. Lofoten is located in the northern part of Norway. It's a series of islands and fjords that are characterized by small, quaint fishing villages that are set against a backdrop of some beautiful mountains. And I'd like to visit for a couple of reasons. One, I don't do a lot of winter photography, certainly not in these type of interesting settings, so I would look forward to that. Secondly, this is probably my best opportunity to be exposed to the Northern Lights, which I really, really do want to see, so I would be able to, kill a couple of birds with that stone. And lastly, I've never visited any of the Scandinavian countries, so I think this would be a good intro. And like with many of the other items on my bucket list, I do know individuals who have actually been on this tour, as well as folks who have led this tour, and they urge me to give it consideration. It was very much like Greenland, one of those places that I'd kind of known about for a while, but I just didn't really think it was a place I'd like to go. I'm now convinced that I do need to get up there someday. So I do look forward to going to Lofoten. Well, if you've hung in until this point, I thank you. Also, if you've been paying attention since the beginning, you will notice that I've cleaned up the mess that was over there. I didn't notice it until I was actually reviewing some of the video that I did make, and it was kind of disgusting, so I'm sorry about that. A couple of questions that I have, or that you might have, that I could answer for you is, are there more than 5 things on my bucket list? And the answer is absolutely yes. That list is actually quite long. Second question, does my bucket list over time get smaller? Oddly enough, it doesn't. It just seems to get longer, no matter how many things I check off the bucket list. And I just, hopefully have a long, productive life in front of me. Last question is actually for you. What's on your bucket list? I'd be very interested in some of the places you want to go. And in particular, should I reconsider, my top five, and should I substitute it with something else? Would love to hear from you. So hope you found this, informative. If you did, please consider giving it a thumbs up, or leave a comment. Again, I'd love to hear your ideas for what you want on your bucket list. And also consider subscribing to the channel. Until next time, we'll see you.